Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. What if you prayed Salatul Jum'ah before the Zawal, before the zenith, the sun passes the zenith, okay? And so I'm going to show you what all four schools of thought say, and then you can decide for yourself what happened and why they came to this position and what makes most sense, according to all of the principles we learned the last few days, okay? So if you look at the Hanafi, Shafi'i, and the Maliki, and others, they are saying that it is an obligation to pray Jum'ah in the same time as Dhuhr, meaning the sun has to pass the zenith. What does that mean? It means the sun came up from the east, it has gone all the way up to where there's no shadow. No shadow is what? Real noon. It may be at 12, maybe at 11, maybe at 1, depending on what the time of the year it is, right? So then the Zawal is when now you see there's a small shadow on the other side. It has now gone that way, right? Which is why Dhuhr is like from Dhahr. It's on the back side of the day. You see what I'm saying? Okay, now we understand what that is. So some of the people, Ibn al-Munthir, Ibn Abdul Barr, Ibn al-Arabi, Ibn Qudama, al-Zu'ayli, they all said there's an ijma' on this, right? There's a consensus that it has to be that way. So here's now you're starting to see where this problem comes from. Like they're saying it's a consensus. Well, Imam Ahmad himself said, "Man idda'a al-ijma' faqad kadhab," right? Whoever is claiming a consensus is highly probable to be mistaken. Now, those of you that don't know classical Arabic, the word kadhib, like some people thought that Aisha, the Shia, you love to use this one, when Abdullah ibn Abbas said that the Prophet saw Allah in al-Mi'raj, she said, Kadhib ibn Abbas. This is authentic hadith. But she doesn't mean, she means he should have thought more deeper because he's made a serious mistake here in his language, right? So kadhib does not always mean lie, right? So Imam Ahmad is saying, whoever goes around saying there's a consensus on the matter, usually they need to study more and they'll find. Why is Imam Ahmad saying that? Because Imam Ahmad is Imam al-Muhaddithin. He is the teacher of Bukhari, Abu Dawood, Tirmidhi, Nasa'i, all of these major hadith scholars are his students, right? Before him, there is no Bukhari. So Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, and the early time of Imam Shafi'i, there is no person born called Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi. There is no collection of hadith together. There's no like, oh, I'm going to look for the ruling in here. Like you're assuming that. Those people don't exist. Whatever rulings they're inventing from their ijtihad is based upon so-and-so said, so-and-so said. You see what I'm saying? They have very limited access, right? So Imam Ahmad, after traveling all over the world for like 20 years and gathering all these hadiths, and he had studied for 6 years as a young man from Abu Yusuf, Qadi Abu Yusuf al-Hanafi, which was the main primary student of Abu Hanifa. Like the actual main top student of Abu Hanifa is Abu Yusuf. He was Qadi al-Qudaa, the judge of he was the Supreme Court Justice. What is this, John Roberts we have here? That was Abu Yusuf of the whole Ummah, right? So Imam Ahmad sat with him. He had heard some people with some hadith and he started challenging him. He says, I don't know about those hadith. So I'm saying what Abu Hanifa said. But he's saying, but it's an authentic hadith. How could you say Abu Hanifa when that's there? So he began this mission and really told people, we need to gather and be very strict about this. So he found many hadith that Imam Malik was saying rules without knowing the right hadith. Because they didn't travel the world and look for hadith, did they? They did not. Their job was whatever we know here amongst us, amongst our teachers in the land where we live, right? And so that's where they were gathering that. So let me ask you this question. So we look here, it says, the people here are saying, what time is the Zawal? أن وقتها وقت صلاة الظهر لا تصح قبل الزوال. So the people are saying that you have to pray after the zenith, right? And then they bring their evidence. What is their evidence? كان يصلي الجمعة حين تميل الشمس. And there are many hadiths like this. The Prophet used to pray Jum'ah after the sun has passed the zenith, right? Let me give you another hadith. The Prophet always used to pray 12 rak'ahs each day. Right? What are those rak'ahs? Sunnah. So just because he prayed something some way, does that mean it's an obligation? Because he, obviously not. You guys are having a hard time with this one. Yeah, you gotta say what you know. Forget what everybody said. Let's follow the knowledge as it is being brought to us from the hadith. You have to be able to clean your slate if you want to grow and learn. If you're going to be a robot, then you should leave here right now, because you are a programmed robot. You don't learn. You're not able to learn on your own. You just did whatever programming came to you, you see? So this hadith and many like it are saying what the Prophet himself did. There is absolutely no ayah and no hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ says, you must pray Jummuah in the time of Dhuhr, or that the time of Jummuah begins after Dhuhr. That doesn't exist. Otherwise, there would be no what? Disagreement among scholars, right? And so this is the first issue that you have to understand. The second issue is that he brings the second opinion. تجوز صلاة الجمعة قبل الزوال. The Hanbali school of thought, that's their position, you can pray before. And there are many companions who said this, and the Imam Shawkani, Ibn al-Mundhir, and many others. And Az-Zarkashi says the consensus of the Sahaba said you can pray before the Zawal. Interestingly enough, he is bringing that in his collection. Why? He says, because كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عند حديث البخاري and Muslim يصلي الجمعة ثم نذهب إلى جمالنا فنريحها حين تزول الشمس. This is in Bukhari and Muslim, okay? That we would pray the Salat al-Jumu'ah, and then we would leave, and then we come to our home, and then the sun would pass the zenith. This is Bukhari and Muslim, right? So that's number one. The second hadith is كنا نصلي مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الجمعة ثم ننصرف وليس للحيطان ظل نستظل به. So we would pray with the Prophet ﷺ, and this hadith is in Sunan al-Tirmidhi and it's sahih by the collection. That we used to pray with the Prophet ﷺ and we would finish our Salat al-Jumu'ah, and then we would go and we would see no shadow on the walls anywhere. We would see no shadows, meaning what? It is right there at noon. You see? They have finished their prayer and it's just now noon. You see what I'm saying? So they used to pray. So there are many other hadiths he brings. He brings athar, he brings from the Salaf, and they did like that. So now, well then why didn't they switch up all their opinions? It's because this thing I'm trying to break in you. In our ummah, in every tribe, tribalism is a thing. Whether it's from your parents and your uncles and your grandparents and the name of the family and the traditions you have, or it's from this school of thought or that school of thought that comes from this country or that country, you feel like that's who you are. You feel like to challenge that is to challenge my last name, my mom and dad. You see? But that's not true. It's just simply an opinion of knowledge. You see? And so this is where we have to grow in Islam. And if everybody prays after the Zawal, will there be any problem? There will be no problem. So for all of the Muslim countries who have these rulings which were not paying attention to the authentic hadith that give it the allowance, okay? Those places were not doing any wrong, and they got used to it, and they passed it down. You're supposed to be unified under what? Knowledge. وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِعِلْمٍ. One of the principles we talked about before. Don't go saying something that you're not sure about the source of knowledge. Just because so many people said it. There are so many things that are very common, that many people say, that is either an exaggeration of Islam, or it's absolutely baseless in Islam. I have heard many. I have found many of these things, right? I don't know how many people told me over the years that when if a dog touch you or lick you, you have to make wudu. Have you heard this? Absolutely no ayah, no hadith, no scholar. There's no reference anywhere in the ummah that any. It's a confusion between the belief that many schools of thought have, that the saliva of a dog is najis. When something is najis and it gets on it, you don't make wudu, you wash it, the thing. And in this one, it said wash it with dirt 7 times. Nothing about wudu. But because they know something about wudu, and they're just throwing stuff around, because ignorance is the standard of the ummah today. May Allah bless us and keep us in the knowledge and give us wisdom. You had a question?